Welcome to the Treasury Update Podcast, presented by Strategic Treasurer, your source for interesting Treasury news, analysis, and insights in your car, at the gym, or wherever you decide to tune in. On this episode of the podcast, host Craig Jeffery meets with Treasury consultant Alexa Cook of Strategic Treasurer to discuss the launch of Coffee Break Sessions, a new show featured on the Treasury Update podcast. She shares her personal journey in Treasury, the purpose of the show, and why it's relevant to Treasury finance and the business world. Listen in to find out more.
Welcome to the Treasury Update Podcast. This is Craig Jeffery, and I am here with Alexa Cook. And our topic today is a short discussion on the coffee break sessions. Welcome, Alexa, to the Treasury Update Podcast.
Thanks, Craig. I'm excited to be here.
So, Alexa, can you start by telling the listeners a little bit about your career, the path? What brought you to Treasury?
All right. So I was getting my undergraduate degree in finance, and one of my friends had started this new internship in Treasury, and they had another opening, so she reached out and pushed me to kind of apply. And honestly, I didn't even know what Treasury was at that time, and it was super intriguing and almost scary to kind of apply for a semi-finance job in the Treasury world without really knowing what it was. So then it turns out I did get it, and I did have a bit of a learning curve, and now I really love it. So then I guess from my Treasury role, I moved into more of a business unit level role. So I did a lot of financial reporting and consolidation and stuff at a more business unit or divisional level. And then from there, I took an expat assignment in Germany, and I did a lot of like costing and more on the ground finance for a manufacturing plant. And then from there, I've joined Strategic Treasurer, and I'm now a Treasury consultant.
Excellent, and we're glad you're here. But let's talk about the coffee break sessions. Why are we doing this? What's the reason for the coffee break sessions of the Treasury Update podcast?
I sort of started to have this idea, and I just was thinking about my experience and my career path and how I really didn't know what Treasury was. And then even when I was in Treasury, I did a full TMS implementation, and I felt that there was a lot that I learned in doing that, even though I was managing cash every day. So there was just a lot of pieces that I didn't really know about when I was in the role. And so I thought that, I can't be alone in this. There's got to be other people that need a little bit more clarity and more of that foundational level information just on core Treasury topics. So that's really what pushed or inspired, I guess, the coffee break sessions.
The foundational aspect of this, who is this targeted for then?
I think it's really targeted for anybody, either in Treasury or finance or even in the business world, who just wants to get a little more detail around certain topics. So different things like what is cash, or what is API, or anything like that, where it might be a topic you know about or you learned about last week or 10 years ago, but maybe you just need the refresh look at it, since I think Treasury is always evolving. So there's always something new to learn, even on maybe older topics, I guess. So
it's good whether you're experienced or even if you're new to Treasury, these can be good foundational areas and give you additional insights. So that's good. So why is it called coffee break sessions?
It's called the coffee break sessions because I guess we're targeting to just have these be rapid and quick discussions. And ideally you could listen to this version of the podcast in about the time that it would take you to drink a cup of coffee.
Now this may be a duplicate question from what I just asked earlier. We talked about the reason for it, but why are these sessions important?
I think these are important because, again, it's really trying to give a more in-depth look at different topics. So I think one of the goals or the purpose of it is to sort of bring in different Treasury professionals or even some of the consultants on staff here who are experts in different areas, throughout the Treasury world. And I just think it's a way to hear, experts' voices on a different platform and maybe in a more targeted form. And I think that could be really useful, especially because I don't think that there's a ton of podcasts out there even doing this now. So I think we're just trying to inform and educate in a different way.
We have a lot of really good Treasury experts at the company, and a lot of people only hear my voice, or they hear my voice the most, and so it's good to hear a range of the experts at the firm talking on a number of different topics with different insights, so that's fun.
Yeah, and they have a different range of experiences or backgrounds, and we're located, I feel like, spread out kind of all over the country, so I think that could also give a little bit of a different perspective on things too.
Yeah. So when do the coffee break sessions come out?
So those will be made available every first and third Thursday of the month, and they can just be found, I think, through any of the podcast listening services, Spotify, Apple Music.
Yep, it's all under the Treasury Update Podcast. If you search for Coffee Break, you can highlight those sessions. First and third Thursday. Awesome. You can listen to them any day. You don't have to listen to them live, of course. So the last question I wanted to ask you was, how can people influence the topics or the ideas?
So I guess I would just encourage people, if they have questions, comments, topics, or they think they need clarity on something, to just shoot us an email at podcast@strategictreasurer.com. We're always, open to suggestions and to feedback, and would love to hear what you guys have to say, I guess, around the coffee break sessions and a part of the main Treasury Update podcast.
Alexa, well, I'm excited to see how great the coffee break sessions go, and wish our audience great success in hearing some of these different foundational topics the first and third Thursday of every month. Thank you.
Thanks, Craig.
You've reached the end of another episode of the Treasury Update Podcast. Be sure to follow Strategic Treasurer on LinkedIn. Just search for Strategic Treasurer. This podcast is provided for informational purposes only, and statements made by Strategic Treasurer LLC on this podcast are not intended as legal, business, consulting, or tax advice. For more information, visit and bookmark strategictreasurer.com.